Assalamu alaikum. Good evening. My name is Mr. Ali, the host of The Real Story, coming to you live from the ZMC network. Hope you're well and keeping safe and warm. It is apt that on the Human Rights Day worldwide that we are going to be discussing the persecution of the Uyghur Muslims in the Xinjiang province in China. And to be fair to everyone, I think this may be a topic that not many people are familiar with or realize the extent of the ethnic cleansing, or I would even go as far as saying genocide, a modern 21st century genocide that is taking place. And you'll be you'll be forgotten, you'll be sort of forgiven for not realizing what is going on, and hence why today, after many months of trying, I have managed to secure Sister Rahima Mahmoud, who is a exiled Uyghur resident that is able to give us an understanding of what is happening on the ground as well. So, so first of all, a very warm welcome to you, Rahima. I know you've been extremely busy on this World Human Rights Day, talking about the situation, the grave situation in Xinjiang and the persecution that is happening to the Uyghur Muslims. For those of us that aren't familiar with that region of the world, can you give us a bit of a background, bit of a history into your situation and the plight of the Uyghurs?
Assalamu alaikum, and thank you very much, Brother Ali, for having me in your program. I'm Uyghur myself. A lot of people cannot even spell or pronounce the name because it's very much Arabic sound, Uyghur. So the Uyghur people, we live in a place, what we prefer to call East Turkestan, and the geographical location is in Central Asia, and the Turkestan is a very massive place, and the so-called Xinjiang is a historical homeland of the Uighurs and other Turkic Muslims. The CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, occupied the region in 1949. At that time, the Chinese population were about 4 to 5%. So the Uyghur and the Turkic Muslims were over 90%. So over the years, the Uyghurs gradually being marginalized, and the CCP, one of the policy was to bring in more Han Chinese into the region in the hope to assimilate the Uyghur people. And we Uyghur speak very different languages. Turkic, the closest dialect is Uzbek. We can communicate with Uzbeks without have to study or learn the language. And I can fluently communicate with Turkish people as well. And our religion is Islam. Sunni majority Uyghurs practice, and culturally very different from the Han Chinese people. So that is one of the reasons that the Chinese now what they are doing. It's I would call it, or many other experts are calling it, the final solution, because they tried for decades to assimilate and using soft and many different ways for us to abandon our religion, our language, our culture, and called us being backwards, and believing religion or Islam are considered to be very foolish. And in the end, so since the last 4 years, the Chinese government is carrying out genocidal policies and trying to use this very forceful way interning up to 3 million Uyghurs and removing almost 1 million children from their families, placing them in the so-called loving kindergarten. This actually is the children's camps. So they are not allowed to speak their language. They fed pork. So they basically re-engineer the Uyghur into Han Chinese. And this is not just to re-engineer, also eradicate. The Uyghurs are left with choice. Either you accept this re-education or brainwashing indoctrination to become Han, or you die. So this is what is happening to Uyghur people.
Can I come in there? So you've mentioned that this is a modern 21st century genocide that's taking place, and in total, the amount of Uyghurs there are, this about 25 million. There's about 2-3 million that are in these concentration camps, and the sort of stuff that you are talking about, the fact that the Muslims are being told that they can't practice their religion, mosques are being closed, they aren't able to keep a beard, they're being force-fed pork, the women are being sterilized and raped. This is absolutely abominable. But how come we haven't heard this within the Western, countries or the Western region of the world?
Well, if you said 4 years ago you never heard, I will forgive you. But since the last 4 years, BBC, although not reported every day, but there has been quite a lot of reports came out. John Sudwas reported in 2018. I helped him to identify one of the biggest concentration camp, which was just outside of the Urumqi, the capital of East Turkestan, that can hold about 30,000 people. And that report shocked the world. And BBC Newsnight did another report. Does China run concentration camps? I was one of the interviewees. That was in around August, September 2018. And there have been several other documentaries. One of the most watched a documentary was Undercover Inside China's Digital Gulag. I worked as a consultant and interpreter translator, which won 7 big awards, including BAFTA, Emmy. So there have been quite a lot of reports, and we have personal testimonies that people posting on social media, Facebook, Instagram. If you just Google Uyghur Muslims or modern day concentration camps, or even just Google my name, Rahima Mahmoud, you will find a huge amount of information there. It is about not reporting. It is about too many information out there that people just, carried away with the information that you are interested in everyday life, and you ignore these kind of big stories, even though this is such a huge, one of the worst human rights abuses and the genocide that is taking place at the moment.
I tell you, when I did hear about the Uyghur Muslim plight is on 2 occasions. One, when those satellite images came of those men being blindfolded and being put onto trains to be transported into these internment camps, and also when a LBC presenter by the name of Majid Nawaz went on hunger strike. And he has done a lot of, along with yourself and many other people, to highlight this particular issue. And the other bit I did hear was when Mike Pompeo, along with the US government, used the Magnitsky sanctions in order to put some sanctions on 4 or 5 individuals associated with the persecution that was taking place. But the lack of condemnation or outright calling out for what it is by a lot of the Arab countries and a lot of the Muslim countries, people were very critical of their governments of these countries for not, rebuking the PCC, the People Communist China country.
You are right. You are right. And, it's, for me, it's heartbreaking, to see the people who are supposed to be there to protect and to help us, because we are being persecuted, and because of many other reasons, but Islam was the heart of this, the reason that the Chinese government is using against. And yet the Muslim world are completely in silence. And not only just silent, there are about 16 countries signed the letter in supporting that, the Chinese government's claim that these concentration camps are designed to de-radicalize the extremists. How is it possible for 3 million people become extremists? And when you look at the so-called terrorist attacks, there's no one attack was independently verified apart from the claim by the CCP.
No, most definitely, Rahima. So you are vehemently arguing the reason why these genocide and the persecutions are occurring to the Uyghur population is because of the Islamic identity, because that makes you unique and separate from the normal Han Chinese population. You have your own language, you have your own culture, you have your own identity, you have your own faith, and that is what is at odds with the People's Chinese Republic state.
That is one of the reasons. I don't forget, like Tibetans are also subjected to very similar treatment. But for Uyghurs, that's one of the excuses that the Chinese government shared, that saying that, they also share the Islamic terrorists. But the important or the reason behind of this persecution is that the Chinese government won't have the complete control of East Turkestan, because they are the outcomers. They are not the owner of that land, and they always have this fear or theory that the Uyghurs are separatists. And before the terrorist term, before they borrowed the terrorist term from US, and it was extremist or the separatist. Uyghurs were considered to be a separatist, and so in order to safeguard the sovereignty of the People's Republic of China, they have to fight against separatists. But the truth behind is also the resource, that the region is very, very wealthy. It's a white and black gold, they call it. White is the cotton, the 20% of world cotton produced in my country, and natural gas and oil. The world second largest desert, Taklamakan Desert, is in East Turkestan, and they found massive oil resource and natural gas. And apart from that, we have gold in Altai. It's a very wealthy region. People lived a very good life before this occupation and this very oppressive, repressive regime came to power, marginalizing the Uyghurs, depriving Uyghurs from all the rights, economic, cultural, religious, all these rights. And also the recent, what people often ask me, why now? Why they decided now to carry out this? They prepared for many, many decades to first of all, to increase its population, to almost over 50%. And then also to develop, to become one of the world power, to bribing and diplomatically and politically and in an economic way to gang up other countries. For example, many Muslim countries are signed huge business deals with China, and the One Belt and the One Road, Belt and Road Initiative, and that we also know the economic corridor, the China and Pakistan, for example. These are the whole many reasons why the China, this especially the Xi's government, Xi Jinping's dream is that, you know, the China has to become the world power, you know, to dominate the world in 20, 30 years time. So in order to achieve that, they feel we must get rid of these Muslim people who are very difficult to control. And so in the name of stability, development, or poverty elevation programs, but they are enslaving the Uyghurs, not only just depriving them from their own very basic rights, but enslaving them as well.
Thank you, Rahim. I'm just going to read out a comment by one of our viewers, Javed. Very heartbreaking to hear the treatment of these fellow Muslims by the Chinese authorities. These are the forgotten people, and nobody is raising their voices against such atrocities being committed against due to the lucrative trade deals among these countries. And I just want to echo what you said, really, because I think a lot of countries are, you know, are fearing that they don't want to jeopardize these multi-billion-dollar deals, especially Pakistan, which is a third world country. It's also in fear of its own security against a world nuclear power as well, India, which is next to it. And every country is looking inwards and looking after their own geopolitical and economic self-interest. And they are being, I would say, you can almost argue they're being complicit by the fact that they aren't speaking out against an ally. And the way I see it is, if I'm good friends with someone, then the relationship should be able to withstand some honest talk, and they should be able to have a frank discussion with their Chinese counterpart and let them know what they are doing in the province of Xinjiang is absolutely wrong as well. And if we go back, a couple of 100 years ago, countries like France, like UK, the United States were, really embroiled in the slavery trade. But you can't keep on using the economic argument to keep on keep those injustices going on. So at some point we have to put them one side and speak out about what is right and about the humanitarian abuses that are taking place.
Well, I completely agree with you. Look, we cannot act in an isolated way, in that way that China has power over all these countries like Pakistan you just have mentioned because of its vulnerable situation. But why can't the whole Muslim world unite together?
Absolutely.
Then when you are unite, then you are in a strong position. Then China cannot just isolate you and punish you for what you if you speak up. I just want to also highlight, for example, we know there were about 300 Pakistani men's wives who married Uyghur women locked up in these camps when they visited the region, and the Pakistan government didn't even help them. And this is their own citizens that, their own citizens. The government has the duty to help and support. And one of the victims, Zumrat Dawood, whose husband is Pakistani, and she spoke out after she went to Pakistan. In the end, she had to flee from Pakistan to US because of the harassment And also in one of the recent interview that I interpreted for her, and she said even her husband's sisters and brothers in Pakistan received some threat because she has been speaking and revealing what happened to her and what happened to Uyghur people in the US.
Thank you, Rahima. I've got just a couple of more comments. Javed has come back and said, can these people have their own independent country free from China's control, maybe have a referendum to determine their future? Javed, I think we're far removed from that. At the moment, there is real persecution and genocide. Talks of referendum by a totalitarian, by a authoritarian government like the Chinese will simply not allow that. At the moment, people are fearing for their lives. Aftab Hussain, wa alaikum salam. Good evening to the host and guest. Fantastic show. So there's a lot of support, a lot of people that are watching. So back to that point, Rahim, we mentioned, I know you've got family connections in Uyghur, but we know how strict the Chinese government are. It's a very tyrannical, it's a very heavily surveillanced country. How do we know that these 2 or 3 million people are held in concentration camps? Mosques are closed down. People aren't able to keep a beard. Pigs are being force-fed to the Uyghur population. Women are being given a choice of sterilization or birth control, or being put into these internment camps. Have you got any method of communicating with the family or relatives that you have there?
I left my country in 2000 after witnessing 1997 Gulja massacre. The massacre happened in my hometown. And the reason I decided to leave my country was I could see the situation was getting worse, and many of my relatives, the sons, one of my relatives, 3 sons were arrested after that peaceful demonstration and all given very lengthy sentence. And Amnesty International, has reported in 1999 about this Gulja massacre, said gross violations of human rights in the Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region, and the widespread torture, and also up to 190 executions that took place during the crackdown that followed that peaceful protest. And I was not able to go back to visit my homeland since I came as a student. And my last conversation was with my brother in 2000, January the 3rd. After 2 months, I couldn't get hold of anyone. And finally, when he answered my phone, and I said, why no one is answering the call? And he said, they did the right thing. And then, please leave us in God's hands, and we leave you in God's hands too. And then he put the phone down. I have 9 siblings, 4 elder brothers, and 5 sisters living in Gulja, and I don't know what happened to them. Although Chinese government criminalizing the Uyghurs to communicate with relatives outside, criminalizing Uyghurs for having relatives living in exile. And I know one of the criteria that they locking up the Uyghurs was like having families living abroad as well. So one of the reasons is that they fear that information leaked to outside world. But then again, even though they're using this high-tech surveillance, facial recognition, you might have read there 2 days ago, there was one article about Huawei, how the system designed to identify the Uyghur face and, to arrest them. So at the same time, we managed to have the satellite images to identify the camps. And we had the Chinese government made a huge mistake to lock up the people who had foreign nationality, for example, Kazakhs and other, like I said, some Uyghur women had their spouse were foreigners. In the end, they released them, and these people managed to tell the story, even though they were released under the condition that they will not speak and tell the world. But we did have enough people who gave us very detailed information what is, and also Radio Free Asia. I would also recommend the people who is watching to visit Radio Free Asia website. Is one of the most credible media outlet in the world that documented these atrocities. And we have very skilled reporters who can just call up the police stations and government offices, obtained a lot of information. So, and the leaked documents, there are a lot of, apart from the classified documents, there are notices that the Chinese government that sent out online. And from that, reading between the lines, you know what is it about. So restriction of religion, summoning Uyghurs to go to hospital to give blood and DNA data collections. So all these, they couldn't keep just, completely secret from outside world. So despite that they try to control so secretly, but we managed to get all this information. And only, I think yesterday, there's another leak about there's a document about Aksu region and how being young were also one of the reasons being detained. So I will say, Allah is great, because you cannot hide this evil. In the end, Uyghurs can survive. I am still, after 4 years being in this kind of situation, because I have faith. And that's what Chinese government are scared, because we believe in the end, whoever did the evil, they will be punished. If not this world, the other world. That is a reason that for now, I thank the friend who mentioned about independence. Of course, independence is the most desired option for us. But at the moment, let's fight for survival. And I want people to join my fight, to join my campaign, Stop Uyghur Genocide. You Google Stop Uyghur Genocide and Google my name. Follow me on Twitter, and just do whatever you can to help. We need your help so that my people can survive. So the number one thing, if they can survive, and then we can talk about the next steps about other things. At the moment, we are in a life and death situation.
Absolutely, well said. And I think that answers Javed's questions, really. I think the ultimate goal is independence. But before then, I think at the moment, it's just a game of survival. And I want to also respond to Brother Aftab's point. And the point I will make is that we go on freedom and human rights marches for Kashmir, for Palestine, and many other countries. And this is just an equal issue. So if human rights is a important topic for you, then it should be irrespective of where that is occurring. So Brother Aftab has mentioned Uyghur Muslims. Why are they being oppressed? I think that was covered in the first part of the show. What I will just do is just surmise by saying that for a couple of reasons. One is because the Uyghur population, in terms of their cultural and their identity and their Islamic identity, is more linked to Turkey, to Uzbek and the Turkmenistan, the east side of Asia. And China always looks at them as a bit of a separatist state, and they're trying to quell any kind of dream or ambition of being a separate state. And secondly, it is a very thriving state. You know, he has a lot of black and white gold. The white gold is the cotton. 20% of the world's cotton comes from Uyghur, and also there's a lot of natural oil and gas. So it is a very strategic region for that sense as well. So that's a number of reasons why Uyghur Muslims are being oppressed as well. And secondly, I also want to make aware to all the people that are watching is that they're not just working on the current adults as well. What they are doing is they are also going to the schools and re-educating and re-nationalizing the curriculum, so the young generation completely have a data change whereby they don't know what their history is, they don't speak their mother language, and they are being brought up as Chinese citizens rather than the unique identity of Uyghur Muslims as well. And there's also organ harvesting. There's I think there was a report of 13 tons of hair was found in a US port, United States port, because that was going to be used as wigs in the United States. So there's all sorts of stuff that isn't coming through simply because China is a very controlling, very military strong, and very authoritarian and totalitarian government as well. And I know people like Sister Rahima and many other people, when they try to contact their loved ones in Xinjiang, their loved ones will be punished for receiving a call outside of their province or China as well. Hence why the families that are in the Western countries or outside of the area will not phone their family and friends, simply because they will get the reprisals as well. So we've got about 5 minutes left now, Sister. I'm going to sort of just ask you now to talk about, for the last few minutes, in terms of, you mentioned in terms of what we can do, in terms of Muslims, we have to speak collectively rather than asking one country to jeopardize their relationships with China. Collectively, if they all speak with one voice, that could make a difference. But in the meantime, with people like myself, people like my listeners and viewers, what can we do to highlight and put some light onto the situation in Uyghur and the Xinjiang area?
Thank you. This is the most important question. So first of all, I believe that awareness raising is very, very important. This is a program that, you just did that. And the people, whoever listened to this program, they can go and tell other people, their family, their neighbors, their friends. They can organize events, webinars. They can contact me, follow me on Twitter. I am well connected with all the academics, activists, and like Adrian Zenz, for example, and many recognized organizations in the world. So you can log into their website. For example, I am the project director for the World Uyghur Congress. You can search World Uyghur Congress, and you can see a lot of information there. And here in the UK, Stop Uyghur Genocide. Search that website, and there are a few lists of things that is listed there that you can do. And one of which is send our MP pledge to your local MP. And we already have about 200 MPs signed the pledge. We have 5 demands from the MP and this government. So we need you to add your voices and do more collective activities, or organize protests. We already have like monthly protests, and also there are weekly protests in London. And if you can, you join that protest as well. And also the your shopping habits. And you know that a lot of supply chains, the big brands, are tainted with the Uyghur forced labor. If you log into a website, call to action, stop for Uyghur forced labor, or just search ASPI report, that Australian Strategic Institute, the report about Uyghurs for sale. There are listed all the big brand names of who, that is the supply chain is tainted or polluted by the forced labor. So try to stop buying the product that is made from forced labor, and also try to boycott if you can. I know it's difficult. It is difficult because of the competitive price that what China offer. But I think that can also help. So there are many things. When you follow me, you will see a lot of like events like this, or petitions. For example, you mentioned about Majid. You know, he has been doing a lot. Every Saturday, Sunday on his program, the LBC program, he would mention whatever the topic is. He always bring in this topic, and a lot of people contacted me and who told me that they learned from this from Majid. So you just can imagine one person can do a lot. If there is a will, there is a way. So yes. Thank you so much for having me today, and also willing to support. I mean, we really need the Uyghur people. We only maybe about 500 Uyghurs living in the UK, and not many in Europe in free countries. Most of the exiled Uyghur live in Central Asia and Turkey. And, you know, they need help. They really, really need help.
All I will say is I will use my capacity, my network, and my platform to read more about your plight. I will follow you on Twitter as well. And I will do my best to share the information that I find with my family and friends and my wider network as well. And we will continue to lobby our MPs in order to put this on a national agenda and get that discussed in the Mother of Parliament, which is our House of Parliament as well. And also we have a duty, we have, a very commercial mind now. We know everything is manufactured in China. So whether it's, sports brand like Nike, Adidas, whether it's, your electronic or digital equipment, everything is made there. But just be careful of where you buy and use your financial muscle not to reward China's forced labor camps in Xinjiang as well. So on that note, Sister Rahima, thank you for being so brave, and really appreciate you staying strong. This is a cause, this is a just cause, and everyone that is listening, that is watching, please better inform yourself and equip yourself. And if there's anything that we can do here in Birmingham, Rahima, please reach out to my network and the wider network of ZMC TV, and we will do our utmost best to get that. We have a lot of positive response about the situation there. There's a lot of heartfelt support for you. Please keep on doing your fantastic cause, and we will do our best as well. So thank you for taking time out this evening on the World's Human Day, and you look after yourself. I hope you found this information useful. And the topic was very emotional, very sensitive. At the same time, it was important that we covered this, because I wanted to cover the issue of Kashmir as well. Today being the World Human Rights Day, but I thought not many of us know about the situation in Uyghur Xinjiang, and we all believe in human rights, and it's about time some light was being shone onto this situation as well. So please, inform yourselves, do some research, tell all your family and friends, and let your MP know about how important this issue is. Get them to debate in the House of Parliament, and also use your financial muscle as well, not to buy anything from the Chinese forced labor area of Xinjiang as well. Until next week, please look after yourselves and each other as well. Stay safe. God bless.